The filming period for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is coming to the end of its process, and with Nolan's film due out in the summer of 2026, the excitement has only built up for the auteur blockbuster filmmaker's next project. We're yet to see a trailer or any marketing for the film, but with it on the way and opportunities becoming available to show footage from it, it's exciting to think about when we could get that first look. I think I know when we will be getting the first trailer, and it follows a traditional marketing pattern with Nolan's releases. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the potential release dates for that first Odyssey teaser trailer, giving you my thoughts on what I think we could see when it comes to a first look, and talking a bit about an IMAX Prologue, which is another staple of Nolan's traditional marketing. Before I get into it though, if you want to see more content on the director and the Odyssey film, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into my release date predictions for the Odyssey trailer. So we're just over a year away until the release of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey film, and I think we're getting closer to that time zone of a teaser trailer being released for the film, one that will hopefully blow us away and get us even more excited to see the filmmaker's adaptation. And while I have a brief prediction on what I think might be included in that teaser, which I will get into a bit later on in the video, I think it's intriguing to think about when we might see it. Now, The Odyssey is releasing on the 17th of July 2026, and that would mean that if we were to follow the tradition of Christopher Nolan's teaser trailers, a date for the trailer would be around the 17th of July this year. For all of Nolan's films in the past, a teaser trailer has come out exactly a year before the film does, in theatres in front of another big film. The Oppenheimer teaser trailer came out a year before the film released, and that had quite a smart teaser featuring a real-time countdown clock to the first Trinity test. Tenet also had a stylish teaser that debuted in front of Hobbs & Shaw in 2019, a year before release. Furthermore, Dunkirk had a teaser in the form of a ticking time bomb, and pretty much all of Nolan's films before that followed suit as well. So I think it's almost a guarantee that we will get a first teaser trailer, and that the date for it will be around the 17th of July this year. But now that we know a scheduled date for the trailer, what are the options when it comes to films it may debut in front of in theatres? Well, for me, there are 3 big options in the month of July, with 2 being the most likely. On July 2nd, Jurassic World Rebirth releases, on July the 11th, the Superman movie comes out, and then on July the 25th, the Fantastic Four First Steps also hits theatres. Now, out of those, the 2 options that I think are most likely is probably Jurassic World Rebirth on July the 2nd, and then Superman on July the 11th. While Jurassic World is coming out 15 days before July 17th, the reason I listed this as the most likely option is because the film is being distributed by Universal Pictures. Universal is the same studio behind Nolan's The Odyssey film, so it would be an easy fit to promote the next big Christopher Nolan picture under their latest release. I do think that this is the most likely option of the bunch, and it would be a lot easier for the studio to market their next big film under a big franchise film they have coming out this summer. Moving on, Superman is another highly likely option, and it's closer to that date of July the 17th. Of course, Nolan produced and worked on the story for another Superman film in Man of Steel back in 2013, so he has some relations with the character of Superman, and on top of this, he also made his own Batman trilogy for DC under Warner Brothers. So this will be another good fit for the trailer, and with the world excited to see what the new Superman movie will be like, they may take this as a good opportunity to debut the Odyssey teaser, which will hopefully include a lot of people checking the film out in IMAX. I think both these dates in July are very likely options, but if I had to put a guess on which one I think the Odyssey teaser trailer will debut in front of, then I'd have to guess that it would be July the 2nd with Jurassic World Rebirth. Again, it's convenient for the studio to have another big film from their scheduled release, and it would be a win-win for them. So at this moment in time, I think the likely date of the Odyssey teaser trailer would be in theatres with Jurassic World Rebirth on July the 2nd. Another thing to note is that the trailer will most likely only be shown in theatres because Nolan has done that for a lot of his recent films. So I don't see this particular teaser being released online anytime soon, but then when it comes to the other main trailers and marketing that follow it, these should be posted online. So now that I've discussed the potential dates for the Odyssey teaser trailer, what do I think we could see included in the footage? Well, because this is a first teaser, like a lot of Nolan's other teasers for his previous films, he tends to focus on showing off some of the main visuals and then saves the greater story-related footage for later trailers. I think he's going to follow that pattern with the Odyssey because it has worked for him in the past, whether you relate back to the Oppenheimer teaser, the Tenet teaser, or even the Dunkirk announcement, where we had 1-minute trailers that focused on countdowns, visuals, and the central themes of the projects. So in thinking about the Odyssey, I think it's likely we'd have something similar for that too, whether it's brief glimpses of Odysseus' journey, the battles he goes through with the mythical creatures, or single frames showing off the scale that Nolan is going for. It will still be a very important piece of marketing because he's got to really win over people with this first look and get them excited to see more from it. But yeah, I wouldn't expect too much story or much of the non-linear elements of the story this early on, as Nolan tends to just give you a general impression of the film with a first trailer. I do think we will get brief flashes of the conflicts and battles, whether it's the Siege of Troy, the fight with the Cyclops, the Sirens, or Poseidon. And showing off some iconic imagery from these moments, alongside some dialogue that sums up the themes of the Odyssey film, would be a smart way to introduce it through marketing and get people excited for the rest of the year ahead. Ultimately, we'll just have to see what route Nolan goes in with the film, but I will say that this first teaser trailer should give us a good idea of his approach, particularly from a visual standpoint. The final thing I wanted to talk about, and this is another important aspect of the marketing of Nolan's films, is the IMAX Prologue. Nolan's The Dark Knight films, Dunkirk and Tenet all had around 5 minutes of footage from the opening of the films, released in IMAX around 6 months from the film's release date. So if that was to happen for his Odyssey film, we would likely see this later in the year, presumably around late December. Now, Oppenheimer didn't have an IMAX prologue, but it did have an extended IMAX trailer, so I think it's safe to say that the Odyssey will have some kind of IMAX promo at the end of this year to go alongside a full-length trailer release, which also typically comes out around that time too. The reason I'm mentioning the IMAX prologue so early on is because I think Nolan's new film is going to have a big preview in IMAX, potentially one of the biggest he's ever done. And that's because the Odyssey is filming with new IMAX technology, and around December you also have the release of Avatar: Fire and Ash in IMAX cinemas. So I think Nolan and his team are going to put together a massive IMAX trailer or prologue for this December when the new Avatar film releases. By doing so, you'd be getting as much eyes as possible on the footage by attaching it to an Avatar movie, and it would be a massive chance to show off new IMAX tech in a big way. Again, I'm not sure whether it will be a prologue like the 5-minute ones for Tenet, The Dark Knight and Dunkirk, or just an extended preview like what we got for some of his other films. But whatever it does end up being, I think it will be a big piece of in-theatre marketing to display the new IMAX being used. The IMAX prologues for Nolan's films are some of my favourite pieces of marketing in cinema, so I really hope he does end up doing the same for the Odyssey film and blows us away with the footage that's shown. But that was my video discussing the potential release date for the Odyssey's first trailer and my thoughts on whether there might be an IMAX prologue. I'm interested to see what we'll get in the first piece of marketing, which again, I'm guessing we'll see in the next few months, and I think there's plenty of routes Nolan can go in. The likely one is of course to show off the impressive visuals and scale of the new film, and then save more of the story for a later trailer. But regardless of what we do see, I would expect it to be just as or even more visually impressive than Nolan's previous work. It's going to be intriguing to see what updates we get over the next few months, and I guess we'll get a better idea of how Nolan might be approaching his fantasy epic. But let me know down below in the comments section whether you're excited to see the teaser trailer when it does release, and if you do know the Odyssey story, what particular moments do you think we'll see in a first look? For much more content on Christopher Nolan and his future projects, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.